Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Noah Izad. I am so glad you stopped by to check out this video. It means a lot to me. This is episode number 1 of my new series called Leadership in Play, where we're going to explore the social space of leadership further. I thought it would make a lot of sense in this first video to share with all of you kind of how I found this theory and put it into practice. During my doctoral studies at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, I came in with a game plan right away. I knew what it is I wanted to study. I wanted to study exit interview data and understand how that exit interview related to a leader's openness to experience, to see if they would change their behaviors. Sounds like a pretty cool study, right? But much like most doctoral students, once you start getting into your core coursework, I started to change paths pretty quickly because your interests expand when you learn all those cool theories and you get to talk to all your cool professors and hang out with some pretty cool people too, your fellow students. So yeah, my path changed pretty quickly and it was a little frustrating at first. So I thought I would share with you some of the things that I found that led to that frustration and how I found this awesome theory called relational leadership theory and started to put it into practice, not just through the research, but also in my professional career as well, and how I think it might actually help you too. So let's dive into some of that. So there are 2 researchers that I want to share with you right now. Dr. Henry Mintzberg and Dr. Joseph Limpel are just 2 geniuses. I love these guys. Let me tell you a little bit about them. They studied 19 corporate chief executive superstars out of a very popular MBA program. I'll let you go ahead and guess which one. 10 of these chief executives were utter failures. We're talking bankruptcies and they got fired. Did not go well at all. 4 out of those 19 had questionable records at best. And 5 out of those 19 seemed to do just fine. 5 out of 19. At that time, I had taken a job in the corporate space in corporate HR, and because of that, I was surrounded by a lot of useful information that came through great organizations like the Society for Human Resources Management, and their employee job satisfaction engagement survey had some really compelling data in it. One specifically I want to show you is that individual contributors at the time of this report were less likely than executives to be very satisfied with the level of respect shown to all employees. That was back in 2017. Hasn't changed that much since then. What shocked me the most was we kind of already knew about this though. 10 years before that report came out by SHRM, we had some excellent research and excellent article writing by Dr. Mary Ferdig. She was talking about learned helplessness. We've all experienced learned helplessness. I have on my job, and I know you have too in some way, shape, or form. This is that feeling where your ideas or your contribution, or frankly speaking, your efforts just don't matter. Why should I try? No one's gonna listen. Or historically, nothing's come from these changes, so why should I participate in them? And so you just kind of give up, right? So it was shocking to me that 10 years before that data came out in 2017 for that SHRM report, that we had already known about these things, and yet in the social space of leadership playing out, leaders were not really paying attention to that level of engagement. So it was really, really frustrating to me. I didn't understand like where to go with that. And so I remember that drive that I was in my car at that time. The day that I found this theory, it was a complete accident, truly. I was driving in my car, and I went to go pick up my daughter from daycare. And I had a scheduled phone call with Dr. Dan Dayton, who was one of my professors at the Chicago School. I remember taking that phone call from him and pulling off to the side of the road and just expressing my frustrations about how I can't find the right theory. I'm getting kind of tired of organizational leaders, and I don't know where to go with this thought that I'm having. And then very calmly, he just asked me, he's like, have you heard of relational leadership theory? And I was like, no, what is that? He's like, I think it might solve your problems. That there's a version of this theory that talks about leadership as a social process And suddenly my worldview changed around how to approach this subject called leadership. And so he introduced me to the readings and the work of Dr. Mary Olpin. Just listening to her talk about relational leadership theory, and it really did start to shape things for me in terms of accessing that social space of leadership. Relational leadership, basically the objective of relational leadership theory is to enhance our understanding of relational dynamics. So two key things there, the social processes and the organizing piece. So social process and organizing are the two main components of relational leadership theory. I had a whole new lens now. Instead of looking at organizational leaders, I needed to look at leadership as a process of organizing. I share this with you today because if you start to look at leadership as a process of organizing, it will profoundly shape the way that you go about scheduling the dialogue, the conversations that you end up having with individuals, regardless of what their role is. And so at that point, I had to go find the right set of terms to be able to talk about the situation. I needed to look at the situation now as my unit of analysis, as opposed to looking at the individual leader as and their characteristics and their attributes and their variables, all the things that make them up as an individual. In fact, I will share with you right now one of the most frustrating things that I experienced in studying leaders was that many of them say that they got lucky if they experienced success. That they got lucky, that it was by chance that those things came together. It was incredibly frustrating to me to hear that. What do you mean you got lucky? Well, we had the right people, we had the right resources, we had the right capital, and suddenly notice the things that they're listing off. They're starting to list off situational elements as opposed to anything that was innate within them that they used to drive that decision, to drive behaviors. Maybe they could drive behaviors, but there was more to the social space than just figuring out behaviors and trying to influence individuals, like organizing the work, scheduling that work, funding that work, communicating that work. There was so much more to be uncovered in the social space. And so I became really excited at that point and ultimately ended up using that theory to focus on my research. And so I'm going to share that research with you in this video series over the next 3 videos about how I went about doing that, what does it mean for you in terms of practical application, and all the great things that come along with that. So you didn't think we were going to do this all in one video, did you? I'll see you in the next one.